Okay. Hi, IDC. This is Christy Britton, and I'm super excited to have Katy Weaver with me today. Katy is a lovely sister at IDC, and she's going to share her testimony with us. So, Katy, how about you just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself right now, what you do, where you live, that kind of thing. What brought you to IDC?
Sure. So right now I'm currently a student at Southeastern Seminary. I'm studying to get my master's in Christian education. I decided to pursue that path after the Lord worked in my life in a multitude of different ways. One of which being in college, he just completely changed my passions and desires from animal science, which is what I was studying, to become a veterinarian, to teaching the Bible and leading people. And so after spending a brief stint of time overseas, I decided that I really wanted some more theological training. And so I came to Wake Forest to study at Southeastern. With that process came the process of finding a church. And as most of us are aware, there are just many churches in this area that are healthy. And so I found that a little bit tricky, but was really grateful for just the Lord leading and guiding me to IDC, and have been really blessed by this church. So that's
Where
all
are
I'm
you
about.
from, Katy?
So I'm from Charleston, South Carolina initially.
Okay.
That's where I grew up, and I've lived there. I lived there my whole life. Both my parents met there, and they lived there. Both of them are believers, so they, by God's grace, raised us in a home where we were surrounded by the gospel daily, through their marriage and even through regular involvement at church. From a young age, I just remember, doing devotionals at the table, or even if it was kind of like, we need to do the devotional before you eat your rolls or your dessert or something, we were fitting it in. But looking back, we're just really grateful, because as a young child, do remember just feeling the weight of sin, and remember my dad specifically asking kind of like, do you want to know Jesus, or do you know what he's done for us? And my sister and I both just kind of desiring to know him, and I truly believe that he revealed himself to me then, and saw that kind of throughout my childhood as I was pretty active in church, and we had a pretty strong youth group presence, and so was involved with the youth group in middle school and high school, and that was huge in my development, kind of as a follower of Christ, just figuring out what it looked like to have a personal relationship with him, and not just kind of claim the name of Jesus, but also live a life that reflected him.
Yeah. So you go to Clemson. So you're a believer. You go to Clemson. You're majoring in something totally different. Tell us about, how God changed you there.
Yeah, so college was really a formative time. So like you said, I attended Clemson University, and I was going to study animal science, had wanted to be veterinarian pretty much my whole life. Love animals, love medicine, and loved what I studied. I really did well. My freshman year, I had to stay in town to take classes over the summer, and I had started to attend a church my freshman year that I was a pretty regular attender at. And so right at the end of my freshman year, I became a member of that church. And some of my friends were like, you got to do this internship through the church in the summer. I was really skeptical. I was like, I don't have time. I'm studying organic chemistry. Like, I really need to focus. But that internship that summer, really did change my heart towards the local church. I think I just fell in love with its role in expanding the kingdom. We did a lot of service and evangelism on campus, and through that, I started leading with the youth group at the church that summer, and I continued to do that through the rest of college. So I fell in love with youth ministry, which was really influential in, or instrumental, I guess, in like how I started studying ministry and pursuing ministry as a career, was through helping with the youth group. So so college, like I said, pretty formative. The Lord really used that freshman year to connect me with some people that really loved him, and surround me with a group of friends that were going to encourage me to know and love him. And the local church was a huge part of that. And so after serving with the youth group, I led them to camp a couple of summers, and then actually had the privilege of being a counselor at that camp the next few summers. And that's the first time I probably had the opportunity to lead and teach students all summer. And so the Lord used those summers at camp to help me contemplate, like, could there be something different? Could I do something other than college or veterinary medicine? And here we are studying Christian education.
So you graduated and then moved to Wake Forest to go to Southeastern.
So I actually graduated in 2016. I normally would have applied for vet school at the end of 2015, but I didn't even apply. I just didn't want it enough. I didn't have enough passion for it anymore. So I spent the majority of my senior year kind of not knowing what I was doing. And if anybody knows me, and many of you do, that was very strange. I just have a plan most times. And so not only is this coronavirus season tricky, but that season was as well. But I had tons of peace about the Lord leading and guiding in that season of not knowing. And so I ended up looking for some positions, maybe combining the two. So doing veterinary medicine in a missional capacity. There really just weren't any doors open at the time. And so I actually ended up applying to go on staff with campus outreach overseas. And so I moved to New Zealand, Dunedin, New Zealand, for about a year and a half, doing campus ministry there with a university there. And so I did that until May of 2018. And that's really where I saw the need for more theological training, when I was just faced with a very academic crowd. I had never done college ministry before. And so that really did kind of open my eyes to a totally different season. It was different than youth ministry. These students were out from underneath the wings of their parents, and for the first time kind of thinking what their purpose was, what their hope was for the world, what they wanted for the world, and kind of feeling the weight of that the world is not the way it's supposed to be or how it was designed to be. And so it was an honor to be a part of that conversation and to offer some suggestions that were not, substance abuse and the pleasures of this world, but possibly something bigger and different, and whether that could be Jesus. And so that was a really sweet season for me to see some weaknesses and strengths in my own life. That really did lead me to Southeastern to be able to kind of fine tune some of those things. So when I moved to Wake Forest in 2018, after I got it back from overseas, and have been here since.
So how much longer do you have left on your degree?
So I am 2 years into my 3-year program. So I'll finish, Lord willing, May 2021 with my master's in Christian education. And so I'm excited about how that process has gone. I'm pretty involved at IDC working with college students. So that's been a sweet continuity to be able to spend time with college students with IDC. It will be, again, Lord willing, taking part of the residency with Imago Dei Church starting this August.
Yeah, tell us about that and how people could help if they were interested.
Yeah, so Imago Dei as a church, I think really desires to raise up leaders that can then be sent out, and they are able to do that through their Aspire program. So Aspire is the pastoral ministry program, and as I've been involved in kind of formulating and building structure around this collegiate ministry, and have been in discussion with some of the elders, just trying to find other avenues where that could happen. What are other avenues that we can build leaders at the church? And so we're kind of trying out this year to see if an internship or residency model through the church could be something we could sustain, to provide opportunities for people who aren't necessarily going into pastoral ministry to be grown as leaders in the church and then sent out to places of need. And so that it's a support-based residency. So we will spend this summer, there are a couple people doing it. I think there are 5 of us this time around, kind of trying it out to see if this model works for our church, that we've borrowed from the Summit. So the Summit is pretty, they have a pretty established residency program through their church. And so there's 5 of us that are kind of spending the summer raising support to do various different things for the church. So my specific focus will be continuing to cast vision and build structure around this collegiate ministry, establish roles for our leaders, and figure out how to be more effective on the college campus. There are other avenues, including worship development and leadership, and then even discipleship leadership as well. And so yeah, if you're interested in being a part or hearing more about that, I would love to tell you more about it. It's been a sweet gift to have the college ministry to kind of put into practice some of the things I'm learning at school. I think it's really easy to get swept away by the academic environment of school. And so to be able to have the ministerial outlet to kind of, yeah, exactly what I said, put into practice the things I'm learning has been a really sweet gift. And so I'm excited about what this next year holds in terms of being able to continue to develop that and create kind of a self-sustaining collegiate presence at our church that is walking in line with the values of our church, and creating a safe place for college students to come and get involved and become members. So.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, maybe just one more question. I think your life looks a lot different than maybe what you thought it would as you started out on your high school journey, as most of us can claim that. But tell me a way that the Lord is just, as He's reshaped your desires and given you different wants, what is a way that you've been surprised by just how much better it is? Like you've had this idea of what you were going to do in your mind, and the Lord just completely changed, gave you all new thought processes and desires. How has that been much better for you? Like that you've already been able to see the fruit of that?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So I think as someone who very much values efficiency and like getting things done, the Lord has been very kind to reveal that my life doesn't necessarily look like that. If He were to put, from point A to point B, like the most efficient direction is a straight line, and mine has not been that. And so I think to be able to see that model and how it has been better, how every time I've kind of like thought that this would be a direction and the Lord has changed it, then to be able to look back and see, like I see why He kind of led me here, because it has seemed more like a zigzag path than a straight line in the past at least 10 years of my life. So I think that has just been helpful to see His sovereignty and grace. Like through that, I think He's very much revealed more of Himself to me, and how He is always good, how His plan actually is always better, because even though it doesn't look like what I thought it was going to look like, the people that I've been able to meet, the experiences that I've had, have all led to where I am at now, and a place where I'm definitely more confident that this is where I'm supposed to be. I mean, as I work here, so my job currently is I'm a veterinary assistant at an animal hospital, and so it gives me this image of like what life could be like. I could be in that field currently, and there's nothing in me that wants to pursue that full time. So I think I'm grateful to have that. Like I still get to exercise these like desires of mine and these passions that I still have, but to almost have affirmation that I'm glad that you like this, Katy. I'm going to give you this gift to be able to work here, but it's very evident that this is not what I've called you to do, and I've called you to do something different, and I've led you there. And so I think that's really what He's taught me through the last 10 years, is that even though things look very different than maybe I had planned them, that His plan is better, and and He is sovereign. I think that helps even just projecting forward with plans, and in this very unprecedented season, knowing like nothing looks like we thought it was going to look like, to be able to recall some of those experiences. And they haven't always been like in hindsight. I remember this time of me preparing to go to New Zealand was a very interesting season of feeling like the Lord was right alongside me, just like opening doors as I went. It was just so easy. The whole process seemed so natural. And I think that was just, again, evidence of His leading and guidance, because I had no idea what I was doing. And so I think that kind of is probably the biggest takeaway from the last 10 years.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you, Katy, for giving us your time. I've loved getting to know more of your story, and I'm excited about God's journey with you, and specifically at IDC through this new residency program. That's wonderful. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.